many instances, so many moments where, I mean, it could have gone south in a big, big way. When it comes to what could happen to you, you know, in the blink of an eye, and how little it takes, and how fragile we really are ultimately, I once again, you know, am eternally grateful that this wasn't a lot worse. I had been very busy. My first 3 films in Hollywood were La Bamba, Stand and Deliver, and Young Guns. So I came out of the gate pretty smoking hot, which was very fortunate. It's why I'm still here, I think. But we got the word that we were going to be filming Young Guns 2. Literally, when we were filming the first Young Guns, the film came out so well that they automatically greenlit a sequel to it. The only 3 that actually made it out of the first Young Guns were myself, Kiefer Sutherland, and Emilio Estevez. So we were very, very excited to go back and you know, to do another film. We were pretty much on horseback, if not every day, then every other day. I mean, obviously it's a Western, and obviously, you know, there were these huge, amazing sequences. So we get to the set, and we're there for a couple of weeks, you know, getting familiar with the guns and getting on the horses and whatnot. Being from Texas, you know, I rode horses, and I remember Jack Lilly, the guy who handles all the horses. Jack walks over to me and he goes, Lou, we're gonna put you on Arrow. That began a very tumultuous relationship. I fought that horse for 2 months, man. I mean, it was all I could do just to get him to stop on a mark. He was very, very spirited, always not happy, you know, when guns would go off, or, you know, even when we said action or whatnot. Action! It firmly put in my mind that something bad could go wrong, you know, at any given time. We were shooting this massive getaway scene with the 2 factions, you know, in a big gunfight. We had done a lot of the dramatic scenes, the acting scenes, and then suddenly I'm told, okay, there's a new scene. It's not in the script. We're adding this. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know, not a problem.
So what I want to get right now while we're here.
So they walk Emilio and I over to this alley on the Western set, and what they want is they want me to ride in one direction in the alley, Emilio to come in the other direction. Now, at this point, I have plastic shackles on my wrists and a very real noose around my neck. The prop master did not have a chance to make a breakaway noose because he found out about this scene at the last minute, just like we did. The breakaway noose would have had a real knot in front, but would have been scored in the back to actually break. If anything, you know, would have happened if you would have pulled on it or anything along those lines. I'm supposed to stop on a mark, and Emilio pulls out his gun, and I'm supposed to turn, and there's a squib, which is an explosive. Emilio was supposed to shoot this blank. This squib, with a bunch of sparks, was supposed to go off, and I could break the handcuffs to make it look as if Emilio had shot them in 2. So we've got stunt guys, bang, 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 blowing off these, you know, shots.
Okay, swing around. Come on up, I want you in this spot if we can.
It is not a calming, soothing environment for my horse. So he's pretty antsy to begin with. So we try one take, doesn't quite work.
Cut. Let's do it again.
Second take, I literally muscle this horse, you know, onto the mark, get him there, stop him, and I get my hands turned around.
Action!
Sure enough, Emilio comes in, he pulls off the shot, and the horse starts. You feel that jolt of surprise, and it rippled through his body, and up through mine. It was like, and then up he went. He didn't bolt, he didn't go forward, he went straight up. And this is where I get thrown. And I remember clear as day, as I'm starting to fall off the horse, it hits me. The noose. The noose is wrapped around my neck, and it's wrapped around the saddle horn. I hit the ground. I got yanked. It's not as if I had any time at all to get to my knees, to get up. I think I was literally jerked around from a prone position once I hit the ground. An arrow takes off in the other direction. Back toward the back of the set where there's nothing. It's just the desert and Mexico. I managed to get to my feet and was running a little bit, trying to pull myself back up the rope when Arrow kicked me, and he took me down. Once I went down, just basically holding on for dear life. I was utterly helpless. Absolutely helpless. I mean, I think we would all like to think that we have a certain amount of strength, that, you know, we are physically capable, but when a horse is running away from you, I mean, there was no pulling back. There was nothing I could do to fight against it, and I was just along for the ride. He's desperately trying to get me off because I'm this, you know, this weight that's dragging behind him. I just remembered, you know, dodging and doing everything I could to not only avoid the hooves, but avoid the things coming at me. He had this very large, like, Calistoga wagon. Went through the wagon wheel, literally just splintered it. There was also a stack of kindling. And he took me through that like a bowling ball into bowling pins. With that just shattered as well. I'm literally going head first into all of these things, and the fact that I never lost consciousness, I was able to see these things coming. I remember very vividly the flashes of his horseshoes, because he was still kicking. I threw my arm up at one point and caught a horse hoof here, and that shattered the ulna here in 4 places. Distantly, I could hear myself screaming. I remember seeing a flash of horse hoof coming at me, turning my head. It caught me here, and it was like the world exploded. It wasn't as if I was having immediate pain, and maybe the body does that. It goes right into shock to where you don't feel the specificity of pain in your body. I remember thinking, I'm gonna die. This is it. This is my exit. This is how I'm going out. Distantly, I could hear myself screaming. I remember thinking, I'm gonna die. This is it. This is my exit. This is how I'm going out. And the thought was very clear in my head. It didn't seem to panic me in my head. It just seemed to be the way it was. It was a very, very clear, very simple fact. This is going to kill you. I just remember being, you know, wow, this is that moment that everybody wonders about, you know? And I felt closer to heaven than earth at that point. Suddenly, I just stopped. I just stopped. There was a gate that led off the set. The gate itself was made out of railroad ties, very large railroad ties. And as the horse was going through it, I hit the railroad tie, and my left knee caught the railroad tie. It broke the kneecap, but that spun me around and snapped the rope. The rope, thank God, actually broke. And so now I was left there in a heap. There was this silence, and everything was very distant. I do remember footsteps. I do remember screaming, yelling from other people. Now suddenly everybody starts to gather around, and I remember thinking, I'm dead. I thought I was dead, because their voices sounded so distant. Their voices sounded like they were underwater.
Medic! Medic! We need a medic!
The set medic makes it there. People are, you know, starting to gather around me.
We need help. Okay, you look really okay. Move.
And the medic starts feeling around, and now I think when the shock starts to wear off, now the pain starts to set in. They get the sleeve off. My arm is covered in blood. The fracture is a compound fracture, so the bone is actually sticking out in two places, and now I'm screaming in pain. I don't want to look. I don't know what shape this is in. All I can feel is this massive pain, radiating throughout my body. Emilio is getting more and more agitated by it all. So he turns to the medic, who's on the other side of me, and they're over me like this. And Emilio says to the medic, "You got some morphine?"
I need some morphine. This is my friend. He needs morphine. Get this man morphine.
And he it's like he's in an apocalypse now.
He needs morphine.
The medic says, I can't do that. I don't know what internal injuries there are. I mean, I can't give him anything right now. Emilio leans across my body, grabs the medic by his lapels, and goes,
Give him the morphine now. He's in pain. He's in pain. Come on. It's all right, man. It's going to be okay.
Now I get the news, as I'm laying there, that we're out in the middle of Cerrillos, New Mexico. There's no way to get an ambulance there in any sort of efficient time. So they're going to have to airlift me out. It's going to take an hour to get there from Albuquerque. And God bless Emilio, man. I mean, this is the kind of guy he is. He's suddenly giving orders, and he calls for them to bring some blankets.
Okay? All right, you're going to be all right. You're going to be all right, buddy. Hold on.
And Emilio lays down on the ground right next to me and takes, my good hand and lays there with me for an hour until the chopper comes.
I'm gonna stay with you, man. Stay right here until the chopper comes. You okay? All right, you're gonna be all right. Okay, you're gonna be all right.
They loaded me up and got me down to Albuquerque. Where I went right into surgery. The extent of the injuries were pretty much limited to my arm and to my knee. As far as broken bones go, obviously I was bruised from head to toe. I was in the hospital for a couple of weeks, I think, there in Albuquerque, and I was done with the film. I went through like 6 weeks of rehab after that. Physical therapy, not being able to move my arm, not being able to move my knee. I mean, we weren't even sure that I was going to be able to walk without a limp for a while. And ultimately, I got, full range of motion and strength back. And, the only downside to it is that, I can't jog much. And I do know when the weather's going to change because, it talks to me. It wasn't my time. It was a little bit of a wake-up call, but it wasn't my time to go, that I had, bigger things to do. That I certainly had more to offer this world. And with that as a philosophy, it's actually helped me live my life. It's helped me to be a little more cautious. It's helped me to be more grateful for the things that I've received. And certainly informs my need and my desire to give back, and have gone on to do wonderful things, but have never, ever taken for granted how quickly it can be taken away.